front of Meta. And again, this speaks to why maybe someone like Ilya doesn't want to go to Meta, because he's not interested in making a more compelling Facebook experience.
Right.
Like
making
he wants
everything
to, like,
on your Instagram photo clickable and an
That's
advertisement. Right. That's not necessarily what Ilya is trying to do for the next 5 years.
Right. And so we'll see what all this stuff sort of ends up looking like. But again, like that goes back to our initial interview that I did with Nat and Daniel. Their point from the beginning was about productization of AI. That's the possibilities that they were focused on. And so they're the sorts of people that make sense in a Meta contest. The possibilities to productize within Meta's, surface areas is massive. But again, they're not the ones actually doing the programming or the research. I say this as an analyst who is not doing the program research, and they will freely say as VCs. Now, they can do it. Like Nat had Nat.dev, like one of the earliest playgrounds for AI that he actually funded for ages. Very large bills where you could go and just play with the stuff and sort of figure it out. And he did that all himself. He did a super early web scraper, like where the AI would surf the web for you. And he did this like years, like he's capable, but he's not like he's not Ilya. He's not Ilya Sutskever. Like, are they going to get those sorts of people?
Well, look, maybe Meta's off season isn't over just yet. We'll see what news clearly comes wasn't down when we talked about it last week. So over the next couple of weeks here, Austin sent us this tweet: breaking, Meta to trade Jan and 4 first-round picks for Schulman and Schultelbricken in a 3-way trade. Schulman contract expiring at the end of the year and expects to sign a 3-year, $200 million deal with Meta. Karpathy says, quote, he is happy where he's at, but CEOs around the Bay expect a signing to come soon. Should we get on the trade machine and start putting together the next moves for Zuck? Is it time for you to enter your Bill Simmons era as the offseason continues?
I saw the rundown entering the Bill Simmons era. I wasn't sure what you meant. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason I don't generally talk about executive movement at the top. It's just like, even here I'm talking about look, Daniel's going to be a great product guy and Nat's going to be a great manager. And it's interesting because in tech in general, there's a real bias, and appropriately so, towards engineering and the people that actually build it. And obviously I do appreciate management and the sort of fuzzy, aspects that go into creating the circumstances and the incentives and the environment for great engineering to take place. But it's really hard to sort of like know and talk about if you're not there, if you're not sort of in the building. And I do think that Meta is the only company that could have pulled Nat and Daniel in, precisely because Mark's clearly in control. The ability to sort of start afresh, cut through red tape is going to be higher there than it would be most other places. I'm sure that they were not the only company that's tried to hire these guys, but yeah.
So in terms of Meta and what's attractive about Meta, it's essentially Mark has unilateral control.
Number one is Mark is in control, and if you have a direct line to him, stuff, and we just see evidence of Meta being willing to take big risks.
The products get pushed to 3 billion people, so it's a massive opportunity if you care about making great products that the whole world is going to use.
And Meta has a lot of great talent, right? Like even if the question about the very high end AI researchers is out there, and they lost some of the people that they did have, they lost a lot to Mistral in particular. Like when it comes to actual productization and engineering, like they got a lot of talent.
And they're going to keep spending. It sounds like they're going to keep spending, because the FT had a report. OpenAI chief executive Sam Altman has accused Mark Zuckerberg's Meta of trying to poach his developers with the promise of $100 million signing bonuses and even higher pay as the social media platform races to catch up in the artificial intelligence battle. Altman said Meta, which has a market capitalization of $1.8 trillion, had begun to make the, quote, giant offers to employees on his team after falling behind on their current AI push. And he said that on a new podcast that Jack Altman has started. A lot of new podcasts out there in the world these days.
Why is everyone coming for me? Go for someone else. I mean, come on.
Exactly. Well, my question: are we entering an era where we're going to start to see the barbell effect hit comp for tech talent going forward? Because the engineering, it seems like there may be a downward push on engineering salaries over the next 5 to 10 years as AI proliferates. And then the type of talent that can really make a difference for a company like Meta, I mean, given the stakes, it isn't crazy to spend $100 million or $150 million, or OpenAI throwing $6 billion of stock at Johnny Ive to get a hardware business off the ground. Like, is this going to be a new normal in tech going forward?
I mean, we've talked about this. This is what comes for everything, right? Like when you have increased transparency, increased scale, like the implication of zero marginal costs is something upfront can affect or reach the entire world. Mm-hmm. The absolute best are going to be the biggest beneficiaries, and the absolute best could be companies, it could be products, it could be engineers, it could be talent. And the end of the day is, I mean, it's kind of weird to talk about because you and I are beneficiaries of this, right? Like we get to have pretty sweet jobs that are pretty awesome because we can reach the whole world. And then there's a gazillion, to your point, podcasts started that have some listeners and make some money. And you also have like these marketing-esque podcasts where like John Collison of Stripe just started a podcast this week.
Yeah,
John Collison doesn't
he was the other person I was thinking of.
Yeah, great theme to like get a pint of beer or whatever. I can't remember
Cheeky
what it's called.
Pints, man. Yeah, he said he was honoring his Irish heritage. And as an Irish Catholic myself, I support him in that endeavor. I didn't check out the podcast yet, though.
Yeah, so I mean, man, I did appreciate this. Everyone coming for our throats, but there is
listen, everyone out there who's starting a podcast, they're all pronouncing their words correctly on those podcasts.
Right, so we have
our
own
moat
lane.
is
no
safe
one's coming for us. That's
for the podcasting era.
No, but I think it's a great observation by you. I think Andy Jassy at Amazon like sent a memo to the company saying, "Yeah, we're going to be smaller going forward." It's like, thanks for the memo, Andy. But I presume most that will come through attrition or whatever. I think there was a report out there. I can't remember who put it about is Microsoft at peak employment, and there's probably an aspect where that's true. Where when AI, a point we've made repeatedly, supercharges the capabilities of people that can leverage it, and fills in a lot of this sort of busy work that comes with coding or things along those lines. Yeah, you need fewer people at the lower level, and that raises questions about how do people come up through the ranks? How do you find the next generation? But there's a lot of stuff at the bottom of the pyramid that you're going to increasingly not need people for, and it's going to creep up like sort of a tide rising, and it's going to drown a lot of people. And the people that can ride it are going to go higher and higher, and that's going to happen in every industry. It's already, that's the other thing. To our point, last podcast, the internet already did that, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's what we saw with media in particular, and maybe media. The real stand-in of media in the internet is for AI and everything else. Once you have free distribution, the best podcasters, the best writers, they clean up, and everyone else, your local newspaper columnists, gets cleaned out. Yeah. And AI is just going to do that for more and more knowledge work generally. And engineering is very early in the firing line because AI is such a good fit for that.
Right. Well, and when you step back and think about like Johnny Ive at Apple and how much value he added at Apple, was he compensated for the value that he was adding when he was designing the iPod, for instance? Maybe not.
Probably
grand
not.
Scheme of things.
I mean, he made billions of dollars, I'm sure, and was not even remotely appropriately compensated. That's the transparency angle, right? We get more transparency on what the absolute best are worth, and it's kind of like awe-inspiring how large it is. I mean, someone
totally. Well, and it's rational when you consider the extent of value that the most talented people are adding to these $2 trillion companies. It makes sense to pay them accordingly and get into the 9-figure zone. And
this is the discussion I had about Microsoft and their OpenAI deal and the negotiation, and should they give up more share in exchange for more rights going forward? And there's lots of back and forth on that. And the point that I come back to is, there's some sort of profit cap on this deal or whatever, like $100 billion or something, which Microsoft made last year. Like we're in an Apple Beats situation. Like so the payoff via these large companies, it's hard to fathom. And, my sense of value is so warped because of this, as we've talked about, right? I was talking with Greg Allen with the Pentagon deal. Let's talk about a, $2 or $3
billion hike in the budget. And it's like Meta has lost $65 billion on Reality Labs since 2020. It's
really nuts. It's really
mind blowing.
It's hard to fathom. It really is. Yeah. By the way, I mentioned I'm back for the summer and just doing lots of projects. And man, my hunger for a OpenAI device stronger than ever. I want it. I don't want to use my phone all the time. Like actually, there's a big problem. My phone battery life. Like I need extra batteries to get through not just one extra. I need like multiple extra to get through the day. It's amazing. Yeah. Anyhow, bring it on, Johnny. Get a move on.
Bring it on soon. Far away. Exactly. I don't want to wait 2 years for takes on the OpenAI device. So I want that to hit the market as soon as humanly possible. I will just underscore what you said because we talked about this a week ago and there was the Alexander Wang piece and the super intelligence decision. And I didn't really know what to make of some of the rhetoric surrounding those reports, but looking at the investment in Nat and Daniel and the apparent intent to continue spending and hiring the best researchers Meta could possibly find, I'm excited by all this spending on Meta's side because it goes back to something you wrote on Wednesday talking about XAI and the AI ecosystem. Everyone who's invested in this space should want more great models, more great products, more dominant players, because the competition will just improve the long-term outlook for everyone. And so as a normie AI user, trade machine jokes aside, I think it's really encouraging that Zuckerberg wants to get it right and wants to make Meta as competitive as possible in as many places as possible. And to your point earlier, I do think it represents some humility here as well, recognizing that they haven't gotten it right over the last 2 years, even as they've been spending tons of money. And so perhaps Nat and Daniel and Alexander Wang can chart a better, smarter course going forward. And I hope they succeed.
Like Mark's saying, it's like the value I can bring is the most unencumbered capital allocator in the Valley. Mm-hmm. Because I'm in charge of Facebook and I have a huge cash flow, I can direct the money where it goes. I can't manage it. So I need to find the best possible manager to actually leverage this capital I'm willing to allocate. There is a bit where, man, like startups just are so much more innovative than big companies. And so you do worry, like this is what I worry happened in VR because Facebook bought up Oculus and it's just Facebook and Apple. You have two large behemoths defining the space instead of more innovation that you might get if it was smaller companies. On the other hand, to your point, we need to continue to have model competition. If we want that in the long run, we don't want to be dependent on OpenAI and Anthropic developing all the products.
Right.
And so, but by virtue of that, like the cursor, is we talked about before, they need to have multiple models out there to keep Anthropic honest. Anthropic is the one that they use the most, but to keep them honest, they need alternatives. And I am worried about XAI. Like XAI, I think has been XAI has been tremendously valuable to the Valley as like a stalking horse, as like, well, we could always go use XAI. The problem is
no one's
you
actually
don't get
doing
paid
that.
for being a stalking horse, right? And I also worried that the sort of folks that Elon was able to pay a lot of money to come to XAI, they have a lot of excellent talent.
Mercenaries
might be the ones most that Mark can pick off. Yep. So Mark, to the extent Mark is successful, may come at Elon's sort of failure. And this is where we're falling into a terrible trap. I'm using first names for these people. We're talking like a soap opera instead of doing actual analysis. But what are you going to do?
Yes. Well, at least for now, Ben Thompson still works at Stratechery, and we're going to keep things rolling.
No, that was a joke, to be clear.
Yes. I was joking as well, but I salute Mark Zuckerberg and the ambition. He's not content to have Meta AI be something that we all click on by accident in WhatsApp once a month. So,
I will say, Mark, $100 million would get the job done. So just...
That's right. I would do it for 50. I'll join Nat and Daniel and Alex Wong. Let's do it.